afternoon, financial professionals. My name is Jennifer Nadeau, Case Design Specialist here at E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to The Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in today. For those of you joining the Brewcast for the first time, we like to kick it off by celebrating what today's National Day is. And today's National Day on August 17th is keeping in our state theme. It is National Massachusetts Day. It is also National Black Cat Day. It is National Nonprofit Day and National Thrift Store Day, which I've been known to go to a few. On today's Brewcast, we welcome Daneyelle Schneider with Symetra. Daneyelle is joining us today to give us a sneak peek of some upcoming enhancements to Symetra's SwiftTerm, as well as sharing some real-life success stories and also giving us some tips on how SwiftTerm can make your business more efficient. And before we get started, I'd just like to remind everyone to feel free to use your chat box to ask questions or give any comments throughout our time today. And all participants are in a drawing to win a prize, and we will announce the winner at the end of the call. Daneyelle, welcome. It's great to have you back on The Brew.
Hello. Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
Awesome. Well, we love enhancements. We love SwiftTerm too. Very excited that E4 and all of those joining today get a sneak peek of the upcoming enhancements to SwiftTerm. So why don't we start out there? What's going to be happening with enhancements with SwiftTerm?
Yeah, thank you so much. So as you guys know, I don't know if everybody on the call knows, but last year E4 was our #1 BGA agency with SwiftTerm. And when SwiftTerm was rolled out, we wanted to be quick to market. So in record time, this platform was rolled out with the mindset that we would get better as we went. And E4 has been an amazing partner with us for that. Really candid feedback, always willing to share time and feedback so that we can see what our customers and BJs really want for enhancements. And so we are so appreciative of E4 for that. So E4 was our first pilot office when we rolled out 16 months ago. And you guys have given us critical feedback in a positive way. And I'm excited to say today we have some upcoming enhancements. Many of you might already know that we recently launched the opportunity to add multiple agents to SwiftTerm. So that happened in June of this year, which was a really nice enhancement that came from feedback from your office. What we have upcoming is an increase to the face amount to $3 million. So currently SwiftTerm has a face amount between 100,000 and 2 million. And in September, we will be increasing that to $3 million. We will also have a pricing update that rolls out with that. As we all know, the term market is very, very competitive. And one of the commitments we made was to ensure that SwiftTerm stayed competitive with the other carriers out there. So we'll be rolling out a pricing update with that as well. This will offer instant approval with all of our face amounts and a more competitive quotes. So in addition to that, we are rolling out a liberalized build chart this year. So one of the challenges with an auto-approved program where, around 80% of our customers go through without the traditional underwriting requirements of an exam being measured and weighed, is that we rely on the information that we're given on appropriate weight. And so it took some time for us to gather data and see what kind of business was coming in, our random holdout process, those cases that actually went to full underwriting, how they were aligning with what we were being told. It's good to report that we have a really good block of business, and with that information we're able to liberalize our build chart a little bit, so you'll see a little more competitive in that area, which is something we've been working really hard on.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to hear that you're having good experience with that too, so that you are able to liberalize some of those guidelines. I actually have a couple of questions, Daneyelle. When, and if you've said this already, I apologize, I didn't make note of it. When can we expect to see those enhancements? Is there a target date? Is it at some point this year in 2022?
Yeah, so the increase to 3 million in the pricing update will happen in the beginning of September. The liberalized build chart probably closer to October time range. We still have a few T's to cross and I's to dot before that's done. An improved customer interview experience will be coming. We found that there's tiny parts of the customer interview process that might be a little clunkier than what we originally wanted them to be. And so you'll see some improvements there in early 2024. And then entity owner, which is something that has been long awaited, will be coming in early 2023 as well.
Early 2023. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I know that that's something that I've come across too. And one of the enhancements that's upcoming for 2022 you had mentioned is multiple agents. How many agents can now be listed?
Yeah, so Jennifer, that rolled out on June 4th, and we allow 4 agents on the SwiftTerm policy.
Awesome.
As you know, that all agents have to be pre-appointed, at least in one state with SwiftTerm. That does apply to all 4 agents on a case. So they all have to have that pre-appointment.
Yeah, very important that prior to submitting SwiftTerm, you do need to be pre-appointed to be able to do that. But we have a fast process for that as well. So
we do.
Wonderful. So great enhancements, very exciting. What about success stories or some tips to help us all become more efficient with SwiftTerm?
Absolutely. So I like to say that, you see a lot of advertisements of what people want to do, what processors are out there that work really well. What I love about SwiftTerm is we're delivering on that process. So our driving force when we were creating this was insurance in 25 minutes from beginning to end for customers that qualified, right? That are in the appropriate health categories. We see it time and time again. Our record right now is 17 minutes from the time the agent starts the drop ticket till the customer has coverage in force, which is amazing. But what I wanted to share today is a true story, a recent story from August for E4 specifically. So we had a male age 30 applying for $750,000 in 30-year term. On August 9th, the agent started the drop ticket process, which took the agent 4 minutes. So they started it at 2:53 and we're done in 4 minutes. That evening, I assume when the customer got home from work and it was convenient for them, they opened their interview email and started the process at 7:07 p.m. It took them 12 minutes to complete their customer interview. So at 7:19, they were done. Immediately at 7:19, the customer got an email that said they were auto-approved at preferred rates. At 7:44, the customer paid for their policy and placed their coverage in force for an annual premium of $894. What I like to point out in this is that the agent's part of that beyond the sale, right? There's a lot more to it, and I don't want to discount that. But it took about 4 minutes of actual computer inputting administration time for them, and the customer had their policy enforced that same day, which I think is a wonderful success story.
And we all know in sales and in our industry, process is such an important part of sales too. So we can have opportunities all day long, but if there isn't an efficient, faster, easy, customer-friendly process, then it can definitely be lost. So SwiftTerm is absolutely great for that. And I like this example too. It shows that even though this is very fast, I remember back in the day, 4 to 6 weeks, if not longer, for even a simple term policy to be issued, that even though it started at, we'll say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, even that small lag time, it was just until the end customer had the time to actually do the interview as well. And another great thing that there's that interview email instead of a phone call, so they can just do it whenever they'd like to.
7 p.m. was a convenient time for the customer if it was a traditional telephone interview. that time
Right,
wouldn't have
right,
worked, right? And that's one thing I do
exactly.
love. Yeah. It's when it
Yeah.
was convenient for them.
And they
So
can start and stop the interview as well, right? So as
they can,
if
and
something
actually we
happens.
see it all the time. They
Hmm.
start it and they get to a question they're not sure about, and they want to obviously go back and look at something. They can pick it right back up where they left off. One thing that's important to know with SwiftTerm, once they start, so when the drop ticket's dropped by the agent, it can be out there forever. However, once the customer starts their health information, because we're underwriting behind the scenes and we want current information, they only have 14 days to complete that process. So, say the customer went in at 7:07 p.m., answered a couple of questions, and needed to circle back. The BGA and agent and customer would be getting emails if they didn't go back in the same day saying, hey, don't forget to complete this. You only have 14 days, you only have 12 days. Once we hit that, it's abandoned and we would have to start over, which none of us want. So they have a
Okay.
14-day window to go back in at their convenience.
So that includes re-entering the ticket as well as that 14-day window surpasses?
Correct.
Oh,
Yep.
it's starting from fresh. All right, good
It's
to know.
starting all over. Yes.
All
So
right, all right.
let's
Yeah,
avoid
we'll
that.
make
But
sure
there's
we pay attention to
plenty
those
of,
2 weeks.
yeah, those
Ahead of
reminders.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When you're getting those,
yeah,
respond to those. So
yeah.
one thing you asked,
Excellent.
Jennifer, was, what are some examples of where SwiftTerm is really working? And one thing that I love is we see all kinds of different business being submitted, right? From our BGAs that deal with a more financially diverse customer background, so a very traditional $2 million term policy, to people doing SBA loans. Our collateral assignment process is very streamlined and works really, really well. We have a ton of agents having success with the SBA loan process.
Yeah.
Mortgage insurance is another area. Buy sell cases is an area we're seeing, and then that middle market family protection. The single mom that doesn't have a lot of time to deal with the life insurance aspect but needs it. Young professionals that don't want to be bothered doing an exam. They're young, they're healthy, they're technology savvy. They can get on, answer their questions. They want a customer portal where they can change their beneficiary, do whatever they need to do themselves. They want to update their payment information. They don't want a paper policy. They want everything at their
Mm-hmm.
fingertips online. Those are the areas
Mm-hmm.
where we're really seeing, or the customers are really seeing SwiftTerm work for. But again, it's just all across the spectrum. We're seeing all different kinds of business coming through the platform.
Excellent. And yeah, great point with the SBA loans. We all know that when those opportunities arise, they need that approval and that policy very quickly. Something that came to my mind while you were talking, Daneyelle, is when you were talking about, young, healthy, go through the process very quickly. What about those folks that think that they might qualify for SwiftTerm? Because I would like to mention, you also have great pre-qualification tools as well for advisors to go through with their client to make sure that they're a good candidate for SwiftTerm. But sometimes things are missed or things are just not known. So what happens when someone may not qualify for the super fast process behind the scenes? It can slide into either a higher touch underwriting or full underwriting, correct? Is there anything that the producer or the advisor needs to do if that should happen?
That is a really good question, Jennifer. Thank you for asking it. So that's probably my favorite thing about SwiftTerm is the 3 paths, right? We all want auto approved. That benefits all of us. It's the best for the customer. And we do have a nice percentage of cases going through the auto approved process. Light touch or accelerated underwriting would be the second path. And that's the underwriter needs to look at something. Maybe it's an MIB code. Maybe it's some prescription history that we just need to say, hey, we can't see why they were on this med. Give us some information, something like that. Generally 1 to 2 days. So the team looks at it, they ask the questions if they need to. Sometimes they just look at it and can move forward with approval. And then that third path is that full traditional underwriting. We may need an exam. We may need an APS even. And I would say we're still competitive there. The process is still the same. You're still getting that awesome pricing that comes with SwiftTerm. You're getting a high level of customer service, and you don't have to pivot. So you don't have to have that uncomfortable conversation. If you're nervous, you think, okay, I want this to go auto approved, but I see there's some things here, like you said, use the pre-qualification tools. I think this might not go through, or I know this person isn't going to be auto issued. SwiftTerm is still a good spot for that. The pricing's still good. The process is still good. It's still the customer getting to answer those health questions in the privacy of their home or wherever they choose. And you don't have to say, okay, you didn't qualify for auto approved. Now we have to pick a new carrier, or now it's a new product with new pricing, which I've seen other carriers do. It's the same product, same great product, same pricing. So the other nice thing is, if it goes to full underwriting, Symetra will handle the requirement ordering. And the reason we do that is then those items flow right into our system and are evaluated within our rules engine. So we order the exam from exam one. The customer can set it up at their convenience. And once those results are in, they flow right into our team. They're evaluated. So we just have to do a quick check and keep the case moving.
Wonderful. And this is just another great example. And I am a case designer, so I run quotes all day. Symetra's term pricing is very competitive, but it's an example of going, even with term, going beyond the spreadsheet, just going beyond pricing. You can, the rates could be competitive, but definitely with SwiftTerm, you go beyond that with a great process. And even if it doesn't go to that auto underwriting, there are other paths that are well carved out and the process can just flow into. So I brought up this slide a little early. We talked about some of the bullet points on here already, but could you take a couple of minutes and talk to us about the items we didn't discuss yet about how SwiftTerm is unique?
Absolutely. Thank you. So instant issue, I think we hear the word in our industry, instant, thrown around a lot, right? Instant decision, instant issue. This is one differentiator for SwiftTerm. A lot of carriers have an instant approval opportunity, right? You're approved, there may be some back-end underwriting, it's sent over to an administrative team to do the issuing of the policy. We mean that 25 minutes, right? That's end to end. So the example we just saw where the customer paid, their coverage is in force. It's not 3 days later after being sent to an issue team to review and, go through the administrative work in a mainframe program or something like that. Instant issue, policy in hand. And that is one of the reasons that it's such a popular choice for those SBA loans, because you have that proof of policy. We still do send a lot of policies through our quality. We're a 16-month-old program, right? And we want to make sure that that policy is 100% correct for your customer and our customer. But the policy is ready instantaneously, which is a really nice benefit. The person pays, they have a policy to look at, which is a really nice benefit. And I think a differentiator with SwiftTerm.
Absolutely.
We did talk about the three paths with, I'm sorry, Jennifer, go ahead.
No, I go ahead. I was just going to go down the slide here, and you're about to do that. So go ahead. I was looking at the extra coverage program, but let's cover the other ones that we haven't either.
Perfect. Three paths, no pivot. We touched on that. So, one drop ticket, the customer does their interview. If they're going to get coverage, we have a very low decline rate. So they're going to get an offer in one of those three paths. The handling of requirements, again, Symetra in partnership with E4 handles any requirements that are needed. Speed to get pre-appointment through E4. Anything I saw Tracy on, but we worked very closely with Tracy to get that pre-appointment done. The reason that pre-appointment is required is that 25-minute window, right? We need to make sure that the producer is appointed. You don't have to be appointed in every state. Once you're appointed with Symetra, you can write in any state which you're licensed. You don't have to go through that process each time, just the very first time you submit. But my recommendation, yes, is get pre-appointed with E4. They can help you with that. And they have a great partnership with our licensing team to get those done quickly. So then the extra coverage program. So this is one of my favorite parts, or I think I think is an amazing part of the SwiftTerm program. So if your customer is approved standard or better, so no substandard ratings on a SwiftTerm policy, you can then pivot and get additional permanent coverage on any one of Symetra's permanent products for the equal or less face amount for 1 million or under in our permanent without any additional underwriting. So the forms do have to be completed because obviously, a VUL application looks very different than a SwiftTerm application. So the application has to be completed and there's a transmittal form, but there's no additional underwriting. So if you have somebody that needs 1 million of perm and 1 million of term, what a great way to utilize the process to get them coverage.
Is there a period of time after someone's approved that they could take advantage of that extra coverage? Let's say I had 250 approved today and I'm working with my advisor and I'm all set. I don't need another 250 right now or whatever the extra amount is. But then 3 months down the road, as I'm working with my advisor more, it really is uncovered and I believe that I do need more coverage. Is there a time period that extra coverage is only good for?
That's an excellent question. So that is a 30-day window from the time the SwiftTerm policy is placed in force. Obviously,
Okay.
without doing additional underwriting, we don't want any health history changes in there. So we do limit that to a 30-day window.
Makes sense. So a great program. So wonderful. Well, Daneyelle, you gave us a ton of great information. I think we should open up the phone lines now, ask people to unmute themselves if they have any questions. And while we're waiting for that, I'd like to remind everyone that you can view the full library of brewcasts on our website at www.e4.insurance. And let's do our drawing too. So Daneyelle, can you pick a number between 1 and 25?
I will pick 18.
Lucky number 18, Penny Crowder. Penny, you are our winner today. Congratulations, Penny. I've been talking with you recently, too. You will receive an email from us here at E4 with a Starbucks gift card, and also you will be receiving a CE voucher. So keep on the lookout for that, Penny, from everyone here at E4 Insurance Services, and congratulations. So let's pause. I'm going to take a look at the chat box here to see if there are any questions. And you can also unmute your line too, as a reminder. And I definitely had questions, but I asked them as we went along. So I think we can close out the call. I'm not seeing any other questions, but of course, everyone here at E4 is here for you if you do have any questions. And Daneyelle, we would really like to thank you again for being on the call today and sharing that great information about SwiftTerm. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Tune in next Wednesday as John Jacobs, Senior Vice President of Business Development at Libra Insurance Partner, discusses how 2022 continues to be a year of extraordinary change for the U.S. in the life and annuity industry. He'll discuss some of the major trends in underlying demand, the relationship with the wealth management industry, the potential impact of M&A and brokerage, as well as what we may expect from private equity's increased role. So lots of things to talk about next week. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday on The Brew. Thanks, everyone.